Hello and welcome to OnPoint. I'm Monica Trauzy. With me today is Rob Manning, Vice President of Transmission for the Electric Power Research Institute's Power Delivery and Utilization Research Sector. Rob, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Rob, you recently left the Tennessee Valley Authority and are now working on transmission research at EPRI. As you consider EPA's Clean Power Plan, how critical will transmission improvements be to the success of the plan?
Well, transmission improvements are essential, I think, to the success of the plan. Transmission is really the anchor of the grid of tomorrow to the future grid. With the transmission system in place, you're able to move energy longer distances. You can take energy that's created in renewable centers of the United States, for example, and move that long distances. And today, we just don't have all the transmission that we need in order to move the energy all around the United States.
Is there enough of an acknowledgement among utility executives, among the electric power sector, of the necessity for infrastructure improvements? And is there also forward planning from a financial standpoint?
Oh, absolutely. I think all around the country, in fact, all around the world, people recognize the need for investment in infrastructure, particularly as we look at all the many changes that are going on in our industry. The changes that we face today in the energy industry are tremendous. And in order to address those changes, we'll need investment in infrastructure to make that happen.
So EPRI recently released a new model for assessing costs and benefits of rooftop solar, microgrids, other technologies. How big is this trend?
You're referring to the integrated grid, and the integrated grid for EPRI is the future of the grid. In order to really operate with a variety of distributed variable energy resources on the grid, we really need to understand the grid fully. We need to know what's happening in all places along the grid. We need to know what to do about what's happening, and that means we need a free flow of information from all the various components that are interconnected to the grid.
Distributed energy is it's a challenge. It's a point of debate and discussion among many utilities. Is there an approach that works across all regions, or do we see a need for it to be tailored based on what's happening in a specific region?
Distributed energy creates a challenge because it's quite a bit different from what we have historically done in our industry. Historically, we generated in large blocks in central locations, and we delivered it at the speed of light and used it almost instantaneously at the sites where customers use their electricity. So when we begin to put distributed energy resources out along the grid, then we have this issue of integrating all of that together so we understand what's happening in real time. So every situation is really unique. So you do have to have a system that's smart enough to understand how each implication, each change is making an impact on the grid.
What should utility executives be looking at as the biggest areas for growth?
Well, certainly right now, one of the biggest areas for growth is communications and IT infrastructure to create information, free flow of information from utility components and from customer components. For example, if you bought a refrigerator lately, refrigerators and appliances have Wi-Fi in them these days. So the ability to integrate all the individual resources within a home is going to be important in the future. So how do you take that information? How do you bring that information to a single point? And how do you manipulate and use that information to create value for the public at large?
You've been working in the industry for many, many years. What are the biggest lessons you've learned up until this point that you're really looking to apply to your new work at EPRI?
Well, one of the reasons I really wanted to come to EPRI is because we focus so much on collaboration. And one of my greatest lessons learned over 36 years in the industry is you can't go it alone. I've experienced that over time, and every time you do things out on your own, you end up with a product that's less effective than it could be when you collaborate. So the biggest lesson learned I think we can apply here is how do we collaborate with each other? How do we work together? How do we bring industry, but also scientists and academia together, and we learn how to deal with the issues and the challenges that we face and create something that's better for everyone.
All right, Rob, thank you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Monica.
And thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.